Following this violent face-off, India's border with China in Himachal Pradesh has also been put on high alert. Let's quickly go across to our reporters who are joining me on this broadcast now. We have Sherin joining us from outside Chinese embassy in Delhi. Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan, our senior editor, will throw light on the political developments around this story. National Affairs editor Srinjoy Chaudhary and senior editor Pradeep Datta are all with me on the broadcast. Srinjoy, I'm going to begin with you first. Help us understand the diplomatic and military efforts which are underway right now to make sure that such a violent clash is never repeated in future, and also ideally what would be the solution from India's side to restore status quo at the frontiers?
It's not just this clash, it's also the fallout. Now there is concern that this could spread, or at least even if it doesn't spread, you have to ensure that you be prepared for all eventualities, as it's called here. So naturally today, just now, the Defence Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, has finished a long meeting with the three chiefs and the Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. And the three or four things that we hear is naturally Ladakh came up in the discussion, but not just Ladakh. You have to be careful about the situation right across the line of actual control. Not just in Ladakh, not just in Himachal, but also in Uttarakhand, but also in Sikkim, also in Arunachal. You have to increase your vigil. You have to be careful about what is going on. That, as far as the Air Force and the Navy is concerned, once again, you have to be prepared. You have to ensure that your forces can be used. It doesn't mean that they have to be used tomorrow or today, for that matter, but you have to be prepared for everything. Let's not forget that this meeting was not with just the Army Chief. The Navy Chief was there, the Air Force Chief was there. So the question that would go out to them in a meeting like this is, how prepared are you? And they would have to say, well, we are prepared doing this, we are doing that. We have to be ensure that we are on alert. We have put our ships out, or whatever.
While the government and the Defence Ministry particularly is busy assessing all its options, Madhav, the opposition is in fact busy piling its attack on the government, particularly on the Prime Minister, with Rahul Gandhi leading from front and asking, "Aap kahan chup gaye hain, Pradhan Mantri ji, samne aaiye." They have a clear-cut demand that all parties must be taken into confidence. Do we have any signs of that happening from the government side, that there could perhaps be an all-party meeting and India can present a united face to China, that politically at least we're all united?
Well, Preeti, at this point of time, there's no official word on that yet. But yes, as you rightly put it, opposition leaders certainly putting a lot of pressure on the government to try and come up with a statement saying that the nation needs to be taken into confidence. Political parties in the opposition need to be taken into confidence. And this is a demand that has been coming since yesterday. Today, of course, as you rightly put it, Rahul Gandhi, the former president of the Congress party, coming out and putting that demand, of course, or making that demand squarely from the Prime Minister himself. Remember that this is an issue that certainly has Indians completely riled up from the north to the south, from east to west. We are seeing sporadic protests that have been breaking out against the role of China, and in fact Shirin is reporting from the Chinese embassy where in fact protests are expected as well. The fact is that this is an issue that has Indians extremely concerned, but what really is the response? Militarily, of course, as Srinjoy was telling us, building up along the LAC, of course, is one aspect of this, but various other aspects, diplomatically, from the aspect of trade, these are also aspects that will have to be considered, because at the end of the day, when you're talking about boycotting products of a particular nation, how far can that really go? And also, of course, what concrete steps can be taken as far as even Chinese companies which are investing here in India are concerned, making it more tough for them to actually come into India. And all of those aspects also have to be taken into consideration. Diplomatically isolating China on various global platforms.
So while the government will judge the prudence behind all those decisions, Madhav, the sentiment in the country at the moment is very anti-China. We're getting some breaking inputs coming in. I'm going to request all of you to stay with us. And this is related to the boycott China chorus that's gaining momentum in various parts of the country. Remember, it began a couple of weeks back on social media as well, when everyone was asking to boycott products which are made in China, including the apps in your your mobile phones. And today these pictures have just about come in of police trying to control some of the protesters who were putting up anti-China posters. In fact, something similar happened outside Chinese embassy as well in Delhi. And Sherin is tracking those inputs for us. Sherin, if you can tell us exactly what happened and what's the situation like right now outside Chinese embassy?
Well, Preeti, the Swadeshi Jagran Manch has in fact called for a protest outside the Chinese embassy. Around 5 to 6 people managed to in fact reach here. They were stopped right at Teen police station. Only a few of them managed to in fact arrive here at outside Chinese embassy. You can see the kind of deployment security that has been in fact beefed up outside the Chinese embassy ahead of this particular protest. Now, after few of the protesters in fact reach here, they all were in fact detained by the Delhi police. These protesters also were not just the Swadeshi Jagran Manch, but also some ex-servicemen who were in fact part of this protest. But even before they could start any protest, they came here with banners against the Chinese government, against the Chinese troop infiltrating the LAC, and they were in fact demanding the government to take stern action against China. So that was their, of course, their particular demand. But all of them were detained within minutes from here, and since then you can see the security outside the Chinese embassy has been beefed up. There is in fact Delhi police in large number that are deployed outside Chinese embassy, because a number of organizations are in fact calling for protest. A nationwide protest is what we are seeing. Other than boycotting Chinese goods, they are also coming out in large numbers and are in fact protesting outside the Chinese embassy.
Okay. Okay, Pradeep, now let's reflect on the aspect that Srinjoy was talking about a short while back, that it's not just about this face-off near Galwan Valley in Ladakh. It's about Chinese incursions and provocation in various parts along the line of actual control, whether we talk about the case of Arunachal, Sikkim, and Ladakh. At this point in time, I believe the military has realized that diplomatic efforts will go on at their own level, but militarily, we cannot, afford to become complacent even one bit. We have to maintain utmost vigil.
Preeti, we have to understand one thing, that over the period of time we have seen that how China had been trying to flex its muscle, needle India, basically to fulfill its Himalayan ambition. But every time what we are trying to do is that we have committed Himalayan blunder when it comes dealing with China. But now I think that time has come, there needs to be a paradigm shift in our strategy. The way we shifted our strategy vis-a-vis Pakistan, that if line of control is not sacrosanct for you, it's not going to be sacrosanct for us, and we conduct a surgical strike. Here in this case also we have to give them a message that playing safe is not really going to work. We have to give them back, as we did yesterday by killing 40 of their soldiers also in Galwan Valley. So India has to be alert, India has to be well prepared to deal with the situation, because China is going to needle India from different fronts. We have already seen that how China had been trying to control Indian Ocean, how they are trying to control Himalayas, because they asserted China never ever wanted the construction project to be on Indian side, because they knew that if they are going to construct road, they'll be keeping an eye on Aksai, they'll be keeping an eye on Lhasa-Kashgar road, which in fact China felt threatened. And that's one of the reason that they wanted to create a kind of a deterrence when they try to mobilize troops on this side of the border. China had been master in deception and deceit. We have seen this thing happening during the last 24 hours only. In fact, when 40 days back they started mobilization, there was in fact a war games going on at the brigade level. All of a sudden they mobilized their troop, and India they thought that India will get surprised. But in fact, China was surprised to see that immediately there was a mobilization from Indian side also, a mirror mobilization. Equal troops were mobilized from the Indian side too. And yesterday also, when they in fact had tried to trap Indian troops, when they resorted to uncivilized soldier act, because nobody will try to hit out at someone with the rods, clubs and stones. That is what actually China did. While as our troops had simply gone there to assess the situation, whether the disengagement is going on or not. But see what in fact the deceptive China did. That was a kind of a trap. When they ambushed them, they started pelting stone, killing one of our commanding officer, and 19 other soldiers were martyred by defending inhospitable terrain and the frontiers of the country. But Indian troops gave them back. They killed 43 of them, and the China is tight-lipped. Reason being that is going to have a demoralizing effect on China, because they've never thought
Pradeep,
that India will be
China
giving
needs to
them back.
realize that this is not 1962 anymore. Their previous tactic of deception and surprise will not survive in 2020 in front of the current leadership, in front of India's military might. I'm going to request all our reporters to stay with me. I also want to introduce Lieutenant General Subrata Saha, member NSAB and former Deputy Chief of Army, who is with us on the broadcast at the moment. Good afternoon, sir. And sir, my first question really to you would be, at this point in time, when we are caught in a difficult spot when it comes to our relations with China, ideally speaking, what is the way forward, sir? As a military man, what is your suggestion that if this could happen between two professional armies at a time when they were de-escalating, then have we hit an all-time low in our relations, and how to really revive it, considering all possible practical options on table?
You see, first, I must mention that I think India took the first series of steps leading to the talks on 6th of June 2020, and certain agreements were made during those talks. It is imperative that China abides by those agreements. I am also conscious of the fact that it takes forever in China for orders to get transmitted down to the soldiers down below, because we have seen it in Doklam. It took a long time for them to disengage or implement all the agreements that they had made. Similarly was the situation in Lepsang in 2013. So the point which I am trying to make, whether it is because of gaps in transmission of orders, or whether it is because of indiscipline on the ground, first and foremost, China has got to make sure that they agree with whatever, they abide by whatever they have agreed, number one. Number two, as of now, the situation is frozen. The two sides are disengaged. So therefore, and yesterday also till late evening, the talks happened at the level of the DIF commander. I assume those talks are going to continue. That said, we have to understand, in the context of what I am saying, why is it that in all of Eastern Ladakh, let's forget about Sikkim for a while, in all of Eastern Ladakh, why is it that this has happened in Galwan? Obviously, because this is closest, Patrol Point 14 is closest to the road, and it is this road which is threatening the Chinese. Pradeep, my old friend from JNK, has just covered like a good strategist, how this road makes a difference. I'm not going to reiterate the points, but the issue is this road is threatening them, besides all the other issues like India's international stature and so on and so forth. So therefore, now it is up to China on whether they want to go the path of de-escalation, or whether they want it to spiral up. They have escalated by doing what they did day before yesterday, around last night and late into the night, and they have seen the repercussions of it. If they have killed 20, my condolences to the families, my condolences to the unit. If they have killed 20, if you go by what intercepts ANI is reporting 43, if you go by what US Intel is reporting, it's 35. So obviously the figure is around double of what they have done. Sir. So some sort of cost has already been imposed on them for what they have done. If they want to escalate it higher,
General Saha, of course, action-reaction theory and what really panned on ground is something which is still a matter of speculation, because the Chinese are not openly coming out and giving their version. Why are they silent? We need to reflect on that aspect as well. I'm going to request you, sir, to stay with me. More guests will also be joining us on the broadcast shortly. We have to take a very quick break here. We'll be back in just a bit with more inputs on this.